What is up, guys? In today's video, we're going to be spectating random players in Fortnite Zero Build, going over what I think they do well, what they could do differently, and just the state of the game right now. As always, if you guys do enjoy this video, find it helpful, informative, or interesting, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you'd like to see more, and comment down below what you think of this year's Fortnitemares update thus far, now that we have had it for about a week. And if you guys would like to use my code in the shop when getting anything, it is EvolveJake, just like my channel name is. And it is underneath the webcam at all times. For me going Rangers Rest this game, I'm pretty sure I went here for the last spectating video I made as well. But this is just a POI that I think is decently populated typically, which is something I really want when making one of these videos. And it was early in the bus path, and it had gold drones. So there's a lot of reasons that I wanted to land here. I've tried landing at one of the new Halloween places for this spectating video. So like Freaky Fields or the camp one. And they're just so secluded and not like that hotly contested typically. Like there's certain bus passes where they can be, but like for the most part, it's not like super populated. I'm on board with Hank Hill here. I hope he doesn't commit to capturing the flag. I think the flags are really not worth being like a huge priority. And for some reason, while playing, I see a lot of people have like a high priority on them just for like looting a POI and having people try to get it off spawn. But the amount of time it takes to capture now is really not worth it. And this is an area that we know was decently populated. So putting yourself on the flag like this, you make yourself a somewhat easy target for enemies. There's not much cover on here. Everybody's going to hear you capturing it. This Hank Hill hadn't even gotten shield yet, I don't think, aside from the minis. He somehow wins that fight. But that like almost didn't go his way, and then he dies for capturing it. With K-pop Demon Hunters, if you emoted on the flag, you could capture it very quickly. And then maybe sometimes you could like sneak it off spawn like that. But I've never really agreed with it having like a huge priority like that. I think clearing the area first and eliminating the other players is much more important than capturing the flag. It takes like 30 seconds to capture, I think. And what you get from it is some blue loot. Like it's nothing really special. And you make yourself an easy target for the other people. And with this POI having the gold drones and having the amount of OXR chests it has, if you want decent loot, like you're better off just getting those things than capturing the flag. So that is like one change that I've noticed that, like I said, playing, it seems like a lot of people still have like a huge priority on trying to get those flags. And it really is not worth it at this point. It's like guaranteed heals, I think, which is nice, I guess. But it's not that hard to get heals when you land at an area that has this much loot. And it costs that Hank Hill his life. I really like the OXR chest here because when you get shockwaves out of them, they drop in stacks of 3. And then you also can get shockwaves from the drones as well. And other mobility items. So I don't know why this player has no mobility, but there was still just a drone right next to them that they maybe could have gotten. I don't like not getting mobility. If I was in this player's shoes, like let's just say hypothetically there's no mobility at all at that POI, I would be trying to go to this OXR camp now and then buy some mobility. Or the OXR shop, I mean, I said camp. But the shops are guaranteed to sell either shockwaves or crash pads. And both of which I think will be significantly better than not having mobility at all. Like he has fizz, but that is not an acceptable replacement for a mobility item in my opinion. And we'll see if that ends up costing this player. Because if a fight goes poorly for them, they're probably not going to be able to reset. And if they get like decent mid-range tags on somebody, it's going to be kind of awkward for them to push it. With no mobility. And this is like kind of worst case scenario for you with no mobility, I think, because there's so many people in this area, it seems. Blows the car up on that Scooby-Doo. This should be a free kill because Scooby doesn't defend himself. I don't know what happened to the other person that was in the car, though. Maybe that's them. You push it with fizz is what I was talking about. Like he gets that damage, which is nice. And if he had shockwaves or a crash pad, he's in there. But without that, he's just got to kind of walk here. And if the enemy had kind of stopped at that house and looked to get shots back, they could probably get a good amount of damage on him from a right shoulder peek while not really being exposed. And a good player is going to do that. Like that person just like eventually dies, you know? And maybe even if they did peek, they would have died, but it could have put this player in like a worse scenario. Enemy down there. They seem to not know he's here. He's trying to keep his fizz active. That way he has it to push off. But as I said, you're so vulnerable when fizz... Like, look at how long this is going to take. And he hit enough shots here where the enemy probably doesn't want to fight it, and that's good for him. But, like, eventually not having mobility will cost you, I think. This person's probably going to be able to get away now. I think they stopped at that bush. But enough time has passed where they could have healed a bit. So he can't just, like, run at this anymore. He's running with his bunkers out. Okay, he throws a bunker. I was going to say he's running with his bunkers out. So if he gets shot, he can, like, bunker to protect himself. There's somebody else here? Or does this person have a higher AI? Wins the fight, but now he has 60 health and 65 fizz left because he's been using that. And so the lack of mobility doesn't just, like, ruin his game entirely, but you saw it made that situation, like, harder than it needed to be. And that fight could have gone either way, I think. There's shockwaves there. But also, if there was any third parties in the area, he's probably just dead. And that's, like, a huge reason why, like, I really want to just, like, get damage on people, pressure them with that damage advantage, and then quickly get them out of the game. Because letting people stick around and then eventually damage you like that, even if you do win the fight, making yourself an easy target for third parties, like, the more you do that, the eventually it's going to come back to bite you. He was trying to pick up the big pot there, but because he was max gold, the game was, like, kind of trolling him. Still 28 opponents remaining. To be honest, I don't even... Oh, there's barrels here. I was going to say, I don't really know where the loot is in this place. I've never been here. Like, Flooded Frogs has been here the whole season. They renamed it now, but it's, like, the same thing, basically. But I have avoided this bottom part area throughout the entirety of the chapter. There's people over there. This last call knife is okay, but it is still, like, a mobility item you got to be careful with. Like, shockwaves and crash pads, I feel like, are the best for just, like, pushing. Oh, the call was useful there. I'm so confused. I'm, like, hearing footsteps that don't exist. Like, it wasn't the NPCs. If you guys don't know how to do that, like, that movement he's doing with the knife, you just jump and then do an attack, and you kind of get that forward momentum. And then you can slide after it to carry that momentum. This is hard, though. So this is why, like, shockwaves or crash pads are, like, some of the better mobility items. Because how does he reset the situation and get away with this knife? He's not even getting pressured by the person that did a lot of damage to him. But... nice. He gets that kill, but it's over. Okay. But that's why I really like having items like the shockwaves or the crash pads. Like, not only is it good for pushing people and, like, taking advantage of your damage, but also if you need to reset a bad situation, which is going to happen if you're fighting in this game. Like that Ghostface we were watching all game, he was a good player, but that timing was just rough for him. And, like, the person on the mountain beamed him, and then somebody else hopped on him. And that's just, like, horrible situation. Like, pretty much worst case scenario. And being able to just throw a shock at your feet and get out of there, or crash pads, or even the witch's broom can be somewhat okay for escaping situations like that. It can be a huge deal, like, difference maker. But items like the knife, while I do like it, and, like, the slash into a slide feels good, it's not the greatest at, like, getting out of those terrible situations. And that's what I was about to talk about before it ended up, like, kind of playing out. And then same with the chainsaw. Like, the chainsaw is, like, kind of okay for getting from point A to point B, but, like, if an enemy looks at you while you're using that, you are very susceptible to being fried. And you're not getting anywhere so fast that you're, like, completely resetting an engagement in the same way that you can with, like, shockwaves or crash pads. So this person is choosing to go double mobility, no heals, and a flare gun. I personally have not really enjoyed using the Wrecker Revolver on its own since the Fortnite update. I've kind of been going back more towards, like, Wrecker Revolver and Sentinel Pump, or even just Sentinel Pump. I feel like at this point in time, if I wanted to do double mobility, I think I'd rather have a Sentinel Pump than a Revolver. Unless it's, like, the exotic one. Luckily for him, he does have a purple Revolver, though, so it's, like, he has, like, a good rarity one at the very least. But if he has to fight a decent double pump player, things can get mixy. Like, we saw with that Ghostface, like, how quickly they were just killing people if they were hitting both shots. There's still 20 people up, surprisingly. Like, kind of a large zone for it, but still just, like, more than I would expect. These are AI. There's more people than I would expect at this zone. Okay, he's gonna reload, I think, which would be good. Game's trolling. He has to get out to reload, but yeah, okay. I was worried he was gonna like leave his gun unloaded, which would have been unfortunate. Right now he's just driving around looking for people. And there's not really too much to go off. The airdrop thing, what is it called? The rift pod, that will spawn in the next zone, I think. There's a player right in front of him. I don't know if he sees it, but he should see the hired NPC right here. There's a hired NPC following a player. I think he's gonna shoot at the NPC, which would be bad. So yeah, he just gave away its location to hit this person's NPC, and now this guy knows where he is. He's lost that element of surprise. Even then, I don't know if that was like a fight that I would have wanted to shoot at, because like that's a kill you're probably not gonna get at that range. And so I don't know if I would have shot right away and tried to give up and like gave up my element of surprise. Either way, he's gonna push over the car so they know that he's there. Taking damage back, and his car is really weak, so he has to get out of it soon. Okay, luckily he gets to a spot where the enemy can't damage it anymore, but if that person had more shots to shoot, I think they had to reload. That would have been 100 free damage on him. This ghost face is dead though. GG's. It's like solid damage. There's like good AR tags. They didn't really get a chance to play the game. Same thing I was kind of talking about with the knife, where like you run fast with it and it's nice, but like if you're in a spot where there isn't immediate cover, like you can just get melted quick with these ARs. I feel like the chainsaw is the same way. I think both the chainsaw and the knife would probably have been better if we didn't have these red dot ARs in the loot pool, but even then the OXR rifle was accurate enough to like really punish those people that are in no man's land using them. Like brazenly. If you use items like that to kind of travel from piece of cover to piece of cover, it can work out. But if you're somebody who's like driving down the street right now, like how they would with a car, with the chainsaw, or running that way with the knife, like they're so beamable. Guy landing on top of him. Probably want to shockwave away. Like you can try to like save the shock there and like maybe get to the rock, but a lot of times being greedy with your mobility will just get you killed. That's just very unfortunate timing. That's a situation where the knife probably would have been good to have. He could have done like one of those slash slides to get to that rock and then maybe look to like get shots on it. But either way, like pressuring that mountain would be rough. He does have shockwaves in Witch's room though, so those kind of combined, you can get height quick. Person's like chasing, I think. I don't know where they are. Like I thought they jumped down there to fight him. This car is also very weak. I think he's going to try to take it to the gas station. But being in a weak car is sketchy. I was worried he wasn't going to heal it for a second. Thought he was about to drive right past it. Him driving around in that 250 health car gives me anxiety. 5 opponents remain. This zone? Okay. Rip. Getting more shockwaves out of that would have been helpful for him. He only has 2. There's no more shops in zone. I like to try to get to a shop before it's out of zone, because at this point in time, like let's say hypothetically the shop was still in, going there and getting crash pads I think would be better than having 2 shockwaves. But he does have double mobility, so it's not the end of the world if he runs out of shockwaves. And hopefully he uses these shockwaves to get a kill and then that person has something on them. But I really try to like get to the shops before they're out of bounds to top off. That'd be a hard choice, either 2 shocks or 3 crash pads. I don't know which one I would want there. I'd probably stick with the shocks just because I prefer shockwaves. Shots over there. And there's a real player involved because there's a hired NPC. But this person is not the priority. That's an AI. The person on the mountain is significantly more important. Even if that person on the low ground there wasn't an AI, just... Okay, he gets the kill. That's great. There's another one on the mountain, though. That's actually very fortunate. But that guy got shot in the side. But, if you see a fight happening and you're going to third party it, I feel like you want to try to grief the person that's in a better spot. Like that person on the bottom of the mountain getting fried is not the one that matters. Because once you start shooting and getting involved, like that's people are going to play differently once they know you're there. And, like, he drove up in a car, so they kind of know that he's there. But, like, once you make your presence felt, it's, like, different, you know? And that's why that mountain person is, like, more important. That's a different person, but still, just, like, that mountain has a huge advantage on that low ground. More shockwaves next to the car, which is good. But this player has no heals, which is, like, I don't know if I talked about earlier when we first started spectating him. But having no heals like this is just a very fragile playstyle. He takes a trade like that, it doesn't go his way, and now he's just at a huge disadvantage. Unless he can find some heals. There might be heals down by that body on the AI, but, like, going there, he puts himself at risk to that mountain again. And that's why just carrying heals makes your game a lot easier. And that's why most people choose to carry heals. Gets damaged. He broke shield. That's surprising. I think they're fighting, maybe? There's, like, more shots. I think he should try to third party this. He's not the healthiest, but, like, this might be the best timing he can get. I think there's people fighting there. This is rough. If he doesn't get, like, god timing on this person... Okay, it works. It works. The person that he had weak is the one that remained. Perfect. Okay, that is, like, very, very fortunate timing. So that's, like, back-to-back times that someone got third-partied on this mountain to benefit him. He still doesn't... There was Scooby Snacks on that body he doesn't pick up. He does not want heals. The 1v1, so, like, maybe this final person is an AI and that doesn't really matter, but... that was sketchy. So I thought initially when he got to the top of the mountain that the person he had weak full left and that it was that healthy player up top, but the person he had weak ended up shooting the person up top, which, like, helped him a lot. But if he had to have a 1v1 versus that person at the top of the mountain, like if they turned and looked at him, that could have been bad because he was 120 health. He was like 170 health total. But I feel like the timing there was just, like, very, 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 very lucky for him. Also, the fact that that ghost face never pushed him when they had him weak. If they had, like, shockwaves and just shocked on him after, like, initially beaming him, he could have shocked away, but he only had one more shockwave at that point, I think. He was low on them. So I feel like this player actually got, like, very lucky with how these situations played out. And I would be surprised if this final player is real. Oftentimes in public matches, if you have, like, aggressive players, the lobby kind of dies out. But also, with how everybody was kind of fighting on the edge of zone right there, most real players probably would have gotten involved and third-partied that. And so the fact that that didn't happen makes me think this final player is an AI. Or at the very least, someone that's, like, very, very passive. Because there was, like, what, 4 people total and 3 of them were fighting on that mountain. Like, how do you not get involved there? Hopefully they're not in this bush. That'd be the biggest Fortnite Mares jump scare. They're just in that bush with the exotic revolver. We also didn't have to see this person play out any close range fights. Like I was saying, they don't have double pumps, so they're at a disadvantage there. But they won all their fights pretty much just off AR tags. So it never got to that point, which is, like, great if that's, you know, works out for you. But it won't always be that way. Especially if you have a decent enemy, like, kind of pressuring you, forcing the fight to be close range, and they have double pump. That's where, like, not having it can really cost you. But as I said, this player, I feel like, got very fortunate. The final player is real. A hired AI just died in the storm. But the fact that their hired AI died in storm probably means that they are going to be weak in storm as well. Kind of weird. But the AI players can't hire NPCs, obviously. You can just wait on zone and then shock in, or use the witch's broom to get in, or walk. But I would probably want to just use one of the mobility to get to, like, a piece of cover there, because when you have a game like this that's just been very slow, you just don't want to get timinged. Like, the only way this player loses probably is just by getting unfortunate timing and getting fried. The final player is in a tree with the airstrike. And the airstrike is so slow that he can stand there and shoot half his AR mag into them and then decide to shockwave out. He's going to shockwave the tree to break it. The enemy has fizz and went away. But he got very good AR damage on them, and so this will probably be a kill that he can just pressure. And with how this fight played out, I don't have very much faith in this final player. It's GG's. But yeah, that is going to be it for this video. This player we spectated was good. I think the ghost face we spectated was also good, but unfortunately, I feel like we didn't really get to see that player get like pressured by anybody. Like the situation around the mountain was very unfortunate, and they played it good and obviously won. But had that not happened, I wonder how that game would have played out. But that is going to be it for this video. As always, if you guys did find this to be helpful, informative, or interesting, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you'd like to see more, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.